I recognize that most of us in town wish to get as close to a zero increase as possible. Ideally, that's what we'd all like. And it's really a legislative decision, a decision for the people to embrace the size of a cut. But what I would like to comment on is the inequitable distribution of the cut that's been proposed by the Board of Finance. And I recognize that there's been an argument that there's been $800,000 cut from the Board of Selectmen's budget, but that's invalid because that was last year. That's last year's budget. That's the current year's budget. And for the purposes of this budget, we start from the end of the year. We start from the actuals, and it's not appropriate to take into account what went on with last year's budget. The fact that it was cut, and was cut so easily, is an indication that there was padding in our budget, and it was cut easily. The conversation that we had at our Board of Selectmen meeting took about 60 seconds. It was, we have to cut 800,000. We have 800,000. We're cutting 800,000, and that was the extent of it. It was that easy. There was no pain. Sure, it's going to be difficult, but it's no more difficult than it is for me at work. I mean, I have to make cuts all the time. So does everybody else. And I really don't accept the $800,000 argument that that's part of this year's cut, because that's really last year.
Initially, I'm here to represent 339 people that signed a document supporting putting money back into education. Now, there was no mass email that went out to people. It was a word of mouth thing. After the meeting last week, and then hearing the votes again, I thought, why not let people have some other form to give their comments in? And so I just kind of researched and did an online petition and let a few people know it was out there. And maybe I did it so I wouldn't have to listen to so many people tonight thinking they got their word in on the petition, so we're not here for 5 hours tonight. But 339 people signed this, mostly taxpayers, a few teachers, a few students, and let's say plus or minus 5. I saw somebody's name twice. I saw one couple that signed as one person, so it's in that range. But there's a lot of people here to support the format. Because what is happening is, as Tom said, the dialogue goes out in the public, in the newspapers. Please know, as someone who has worked in the university system, you have education majors who are reading those articles, who are saying, where do I want to apply? And they're looking at what Newtown is saying about its education system, about their education, and how we as officials speak to each other. And they are going to decide whether or not they, as the best and the brightest that are coming in, want to work here. Because their question is not, what can I offer you? But what do you as a community have to offer me as an educator, professionally? The other thing that I want to share in the statistics is that educators leave a district typically in the 5th to 7th year. You're not going to see the top echelon leaving. Their retirement is based on what their salary is at those final years. Who you're going to see leave are your 5th, 6th, 7th year teachers who have established tenure, who have established reputation, and who can go to Ridgefield, stay on the same salary step, and earn $20,000 more a year.
Basically, I'm here tonight. I want to review some historical perspective on the school budget and the town budget, and then make some requests. During the last 10 years, I don't know if you've seen the tax implication sheet, the budget summary increase sheet that has been developed every year by Bob Tate. But the taxpayers have typically supported a tax increase, an average of 4.8% in the last 10 years. Last year was an aberration. The voters of this town decided to approve a 0.99% increase. What that did was it was very short-term thinking on the voters' part, because it set a new baseline for the following budget years. And if we decide that we are going to support a $2.5 million baseline, a cut baseline for the Board of Education budget, what we're doing is we're creating a new baseline, and it's really hard to recover from that. During the last 10 years as well, if you incorporate the $2.5 million cut this year, you would have cut $39 million since the year 2000 to the Board of Education budget.
Here. Wouldn't it be great if we could channel all of this energy, negative, positive, anyway, in one direction to make our town better? And I think that that's what's really missing. And it's up to you now. And I actually think that at the beginning of the budget season, everybody's optimistic. And by this time of the season, if I can be negative and pessimistic, which is not my nature, anybody can. And I wrote the most negative speech. I was going to call out people and say, you know, you promised in your campaign, blah, blah, blah. I wrote some emails, I'm sure that you all remember which they are. But what I would like to say is, you know, it's easy to make promises when you want to get on the legislative council in order to make changes in our town. It's easy to stand up and say, school supporters, got you back. We're with you. We want blue ribbons. And people go out and they vote for you based on those promises. 8 new people here. Platforms here, there, and everywhere. The Republican platform, I was surprised to hear was pro-education, and I'm glad. The IPM platform was pro-education. I'm sure the Democratic platform was pro-education too. Well, where is it? We're not seeing it. We're not seeing the Board of Finance be pro-education. We're not seeing the Board of Education even be pro-education because they roll over. They're fearful. They step back right away from what they believe is what our town needs because they're fearful that they'll be punished and more cuts will be made. We've seen it time after time, and it's disgusting. And everybody out here is exhausted by it.